The rain fell in thin, icy threads over the empty bus station, turning puddles into trembling mirrors. It was late evening, the kind of hour when the world felt half asleep, when people hurried home, and when silence seemed heavier than usual. On a cold metal bench sat a little girl, no more than 6 years old, hugging a faded pink backpack to her chest. Her dark hair clung to her cheeks, soaked by the drizzle. She tried not to cry again, but every few seconds a tiny sob would escape her trembling lips. Her parents had left her there, not lost, not forgotten. Left, they stood before her only 15 minutes earlier, her father with his jaw clenched tight, eyes refusing to meet hers, her mother with her arms crossed, her expression stone-faced, emotionless. They said nothing, no explanation, no goodbye. They placed her backpack beside her, turned around, and walked away without hesitation. Their silhouettes faded into the gray curtain of rain until they disappeared completely. The girl, Leela, waited for them to return. She believed they were just angry, or maybe they had forgotten something in the car. She whispered to herself, "Mama will come back. Daddy will come back." But when the minutes stretched into a half hour and her small fingers grew numb from the cold, she realized the truth. She was alone. Across the station, a man watched her silently. He stood under the dim glow of a flickering street lamp, holding a black umbrella. His coat was old, his boots muddy, and his hair sprinkled with a little gray. His name was Elias Rowan, though no one there knew it. He was a quiet man, the type who blended into crowds, the type who preferred shadows over attention. He rarely spoke unless necessary. He had come to the station simply to wait for a bus that never seemed to arrive. But when he saw the little girl sitting alone with her head bowed and tears slipping down her cheeks, something inside him stirred, something he thought he had lost long ago. Elias had once been a father. Years earlier, he had a daughter named Marin, a bright-eyed child with a laugh like bells. But tragedy had taken her from him too soon, leaving him with a permanently fractured heart. Since then, he avoided places filled with children. Their laughter reminded him of what he could never have again, yet he couldn't ignore the sight before him now. Leela's thin shoulders trembled each time she sniffled. Her small, wet shoes dangled from the bench, unable to touch the ground. Her backpack was decorated with messy stickers, some peeling at the edges, one shaped like a crooked moon. The innocence of it struck Elias's soul like an unexpected blow. The station grew quieter. A bus approached, hissed as it stopped, and then rumbled away with its passengers. Leela didn't move. She didn't even look up. The last person waiting aside from Elias had already left. She was alone in the cold night. Elias took a step forward, then another. His boots echoed softly on the wet pavement. When he reached the bench, Leela flinched, her fingers gripping her backpack tighter. "Are you waiting for someone?" Elias asked gently, though his voice felt rusty from disuse. She looked up with red, swollen eyes. My mommy and daddy, they said to sit here." Her voice cracked. "But they didn't come back." Elias felt his chest tighten painfully. "How long?" he asked. "I don't know." She wiped her nose with her sleeve. "A long, long time." The honesty in her trembling voice broke whatever distance he was trying to keep. He exhaled slowly, careful not to alarm her. "Do you know where they went?" She shook her head. "Do you have anyone else, a family member?" Another shake. Elias's pulse thudded. He looked around the empty station. No adults searching, no frantic footsteps, no shouting. Just rain, wind, and silence. They had abandoned her. He crouched down so he could meet her eyes without towering over her. "You must be cold," he murmured. "Why don't you come sit under my umbrella?" She hesitated, fear flickering across her face. Elias realized how frightening a stranger might seem to a child alone in the dark. "It's okay," he added softly, placing the umbrella between them instead of pulling her toward him. "You can stay right where you are. I'll just hold it so the rain doesn't fall on you." Leela blinked. Slowly, she scooted an inch, placing herself under the shelter of the umbrella. "Thank you," she whispered. Elias nodded once. "I'm Elias. I'm Leela." The wind howled through the empty station. A piece of newspaper fluttered across the ground like a lost bird. Elias knew what he had to do. Leaving her here was unthinkable. "Leela," he said carefully, "would you like to go somewhere warm, maybe get something to eat?" Her stomach growled loudly before she could answer. She pressed her hands over it, embarrassed. Elias didn't touch her. He simply stood and offered the umbrella to her instead of taking her hand. "It's safe," he told her gently. "You can walk beside me. I won't leave you." Those words, "I won't leave you," made Leela burst into tears again, but this time she stepped off the bench and followed him. They walked slowly, Leela shivering as she held the umbrella awkwardly. Elias kept close, but not too close, careful not to overwhelm her. They reached a small bakery, still open despite the late hour. The warm scent of bread and sugar wrapped around them the moment they stepped inside. The owner, Mrs. Halpern, looked up from behind the counter. "Oh my goodness, she's drenched." She rushed over with a towel. "What happened?" Elias hesitated. He didn't want to embarrass the child, but he couldn't lie. Her parents didn't come back for her. Mrs. Halpern covered her mouth in shock and immediately ushered Leela to a seat. She brought a blanket, hot chocolate, and a cinnamon roll nearly the size of the child's head. Leela ate slowly at first, then hungrily, as though afraid it might disappear. Elias watched her quietly. Something inside him struggled. Fear, responsibility, the aching memory of his own daughter. But stronger than all of that was a single thought: she needs someone. After Leela finished eating, her eyelids drooped heavily. Mrs. Halpern whispered, "Poor thing. Where will she go tonight?" Elias didn't answer right away. His heart beat painfully. Taking care of a child wasn't simple. It meant commitment, time, patience. Things he wasn't sure he still had. But leaving her to strangers, to a system that might separate her, mistreat her, lose her, no, he couldn't. He took a slow breath. "She can stay with me tonight. I'll call child services in the morning and explain everything." Mrs. Halpern nodded, relieved. Leela, half asleep, leaned against Elias's arm. It shocked him how naturally he lifted her into his arms, as though some part of him remembered how to comfort a child. He carried her through the rain to his home at the edge of town, a small, quiet cottage with a warm fireplace and a garden overgrown from neglect. Inside, he dried her hair, gave her one of his daughter's old blankets, something he hadn't touched in years, and let her sleep on the couch. That night, Elias sat beside her, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing. Memories flooded him, bittersweet and painful, but for the first time in a long while, his home didn't feel empty. Morning light spilled through the windows. Leela woke with a start, unsure of where she was. When she saw Elias sitting nearby with a gentle expression, she relaxed. "You're safe," he said. Her eyes filled with tears. Are you going to leave me too?" The question pierced him deeply. "No," he said quietly, "I won't leave you." Child services arrived later, but Leela clung to Elias's coat, refusing to let go. The workers exchanged looks and asked Elias if he would consider being her temporary guardian while they searched for answers about her parents. He looked at Leela, her tearful eyes, her trust in him, the innocence he couldn't ignore. "Yes," he said, "I'll take care of her." Days turned into weeks, weeks became months. Leela slowly blossomed, her laughter returning, her fears fading. She planted flowers in Elias's neglected garden, filled his quiet home with drawings, and reminded him what warmth felt like. Elias, in turn, became the father she had been denied. And one quiet afternoon, long after the case was closed and her parents' abandonment confirmed legally, Leela looked up at him with a shy smile. "Elias, yes, sweetheart, can I call you Dad?" His heart broke and healed all at once. He pulled her into a warm embrace. "Yes," he whispered, "you can." Because two lonely souls, one grieving, one abandoned, had found in each other the family they both needed.